As every Oak Island researcher knows, finding treasure is all about understanding how things got here in the first place. That's why, for years, investigators have searched for evidence of how large objects, including the massive boulders of Nolan's Cross, could have been transported across the island. And one of the biggest clues may have been hiding in plain sight, an unassuming rock located near an old apple tree on Lot 13. At first glance, it didn't look like much, just another weathered boulder among the many scattered across the island. But upon closer inspection, something incredible was revealed. This wasn't just any stone, it was what researchers call a ringbolt rock. So what exactly is a ringbolt rock? Essentially, it's a stone that has been modified to hold an iron ring, which would have been used for securing ropes or pulleys. These were often found in harbors where ships would be moored, or in areas where heavy loads needed to be hoisted or transported. And here's the kicker: this wasn't just any random stone. It was one of the original ringbolt rocks, first identified by Fred Nolan decades ago. When Nolan first documented it, the iron ring was still attached. But over the years, time and weather had worn it down, leaving only traces of what was once there. However, even without the ring, the stone itself told a story. Its placement suggested that something heavy had once been lifted or pulled from this exact spot. But what was it? One theory suggests that the ringbolt rock was part of a secret transport system used to haul heavy objects up the hill toward the island's interior. If Oak Island was home to a hidden treasure, this could have been a crucial piece of the operation. Ships could have arrived at the shoreline, unloading cargo that was then carefully maneuvered inland using a network of pulleys and stone pathways. The fact that this rock was located so close to other unusual features, like the stone road leading inland, only added to the mystery. Even more intriguing was the possibility that this rock wasn't just used to bring objects onto the island, but also to remove them. The presence of the ringbolt rock suggests significant human effort, meaning someone had been here, moving something large and heavy, for a very specific reason. Hopeful that Mike and Mark will be able to give us some information from the stones. Might it lead to treasure? I don't know. Might it lead to other discovery agendas? I don't know. But we have to start somewhere, and the place to start is with experts. Some of the most shocking discoveries on Oak Island have been found near Nolan's Cross, a mysterious formation that has puzzled experts for years. Could it be more than just a natural arrangement of stones? Some believe it marks the location of something hidden, something big. Strange carvings, ancient artifacts, and even signs of a lost treasure have all been uncovered in this area. Today, we're taking a deep dive into some of the craziest discoveries made near Nolan's Cross, one of which might just change everything we thought we knew about Oak Island. The formation of Nolan's Cross in the mysterious headstone. In the world of Oak Island mysteries, few discoveries have sparked as much debate as Nolan's Cross. Back in 1981, land surveyor and treasure hunter Fred Nolan stumbled upon something that seemed to precise to be natural: 5 massive cone-shaped boulders, each carefully positioned on his property. When knapped out, these stones formed a perfectly symmetrical cross, stretching over 700 feet in one direction and over 800 feet in another. That alone was strange enough, but what made this discovery even more baffling was what Nolan found buried at the very center of the cross. Digging down, he uncovered a 6th boulder, one that looked eerily different from the others. While the 5 original stones were shaped like cones, this one was something else entirely. It was flatter, smoother, and most bizarrely, it had features that looked carved. To Nolan's trained eye, it didn't seem like just another random rock. It resembled a human head. The stone had indentations where eyes, a nose, and even a mouth would be, almost as if someone had deliberately sculpted it. If that was true, then the real question was, who did it and why? As news of Nolan's discovery spread, theories exploded. Some believed that the cross wasn't just a random collection of stones, but a deliberate marker, perhaps even a land-based version of the legendary Templar cross left behind by the Knights Templar centuries ago. But there was another, even wilder theory. Some researchers suggested that the cross wasn't a cross at all, but something even older and ancient symbol known as the Tree of Life, which appears in Hebraic traditions as a representation of spiritual knowledge and the 10 divine principles that govern the universe. That theory gained even more traction when smaller, flat-sided stones were found at the exact positions where elements of the Tree of Life should be. Could this be evidence that Oak Island was tied to some long-lost ancient order? As the dig continued, metal detection efforts picked up something unusual, something small but potentially groundbreaking. Lying beneath the dirt were pieces of what looked like old hinges, but these weren't just any hinges. They were decorative, intricate, and incredibly well-crafted, the kind you'd expect to see on a chest. Could this be evidence that a buried treasure was once hidden here, and if so, what happened to it? For those unfamiliar with Oak Island's long history of treasure hunting, these hinges may not seem like much. The decorative hinges of this kind are often found on antique chests, specifically the kind used centuries ago to store valuables. The moment it was pulled from the ground, the team knew they had something worth investigating. The design of the hinge was ornate, far too elaborate for something as simple as a door or a crate. This was the kind of craftsmanship used for something important, something meant to hold valuable contents. The discovery became even more compelling when additional metal fragments were found nearby, more hinges, some broken, some rusted beyond recognition. Could this have once been part of a chest? Perhaps one meant to store documents, gold, or even something more significant. Theories quickly emerged. Some pointed to historical accounts of missing chests connected to Oak Island, particularly those rumored to have belonged to pirate Captain James Anderson, a notorious figure believed to have had ties to the island. Could these hinges have once been part of his lost treasure? Another possibility involved the Knights Templar, a group often linked to Oak Island's mysteries. Could these hinges be connected to an ancient treasure hidden long ago? As the investigation continued, it became clear that whatever had once been stored in this chest, its presence on Oak Island was no coincidence. If they had hidden something of great value here, perhaps these hinges were all that remained of a container that once held relics or even historical documents of incredible significance. Adding to the mystery was a key discovery made by Fred Nolan decades earlier, a skeleton key found not far from where these hinges were uncovered. One thing was certain: these hinges hinted at a bigger story, one that suggested something valuable had once been stored, then either removed or lost to time. While the hinges might have pointed to a missing treasure, another discovery near Nolan's Cross hinted at something even more intriguing, because not far from these finds, an ancient stone structure was hiding in plain sight, one that may have been part of a secret network designed to transport something massive. But if Nolan's Cross was truly a marker for something hidden, what was it pointing to? Over the years, multiple scans and digs have been conducted around the area, but no definitive treasure has been found. Still, many believe that the headstone at the center holds the key to something bigger. Its unusual shape, the fact that it doesn't match the other stones, and its placement at the intersection of the cross have led some to speculate that it could be a clue one left behind to guide treasure hunters towards something even greater. If that's true, then someone went to a lot of trouble to mark this spot. But here's the thing: what if these stones weren't just arranged in a pattern? What if they were actually moved into place, dragged across the island for a specific purpose? That's exactly what the next discovery might suggest. The enigmatic markings on the bottom boulder. For decades, treasure hunters have combed Oak Island searching for any trace of the legendary lost fortune. But sometimes, the biggest clues are hiding in plain sight. That was exactly the case when experts took a closer look at the massive boulders forming Nolan's Cross. At first glance, they appeared like any other natural stone formations, rough, weathered, and shaped by centuries of exposure to the elements. When stonemasons Mike Welling and Mark Fur were invited to inspect them, one particular boulder stood out in a way no one expected. It was positioned at the very bottom of Nolan's Cross, like the foundation of a massive structure. Unlike the others, which were rugged and uneven, this stone had an oddly smooth surface, so smooth that it looked completely unnatural. This was unusual for a giant granite boulder. Natural stones tend to have jagged edges, rough textures, and unpredictable shapes. That this one its base was polished, as if something or someone had intentionally worn it down. The moment the stonemasons saw it, they knew this wasn't normal. The only way a stone of this size could have been smooth like that was if it had been dragged over a long distance, repeatedly scraping against the ground as it was moved into position. And if that was the case, it meant someone, at some point in history, had gone to extraordinary lengths to place this boulder exactly where it was. But here's where things get even stranger. The rest of the stone surface was rough and natural, just as you expect from an untouched piece of granite. It was only the bottom completely hidden from view that had this unnerving smoothness. This suggested that whoever moved it wasn't just rolling stones around for fun.